JKB back with another episode, and today I'm going to convince you, yeah that's right, you, that you should be playing Magic the Gathering. You should do it. You should play. Let me begin by saying what Magic the Gathering is. It's a collectible card trading game where you buy packs or pre-made decks and you assemble them into a deck, and this deck is used to battle other players. Now there's many different formats of Magic the Gathering that you can get into, but I play standard for the most part. That's actually how I got into Magic in the beginning. I simply bought a pre-made deck, kind of looks like this, and it comes in a package of 60 cards. The decks themselves are designed a certain way based on the mode you're playing. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much right off the bat and say all these different modes and what you can do with them. I kind of just want to share with you my experience with the evolution of Magic. I started playing Magic, well, this is story time by the way. I started playing around 2003, and I was working in a gigantic mall in Square One. And this is in Mississauga, Ontario, and maybe some of you have heard of this place. I was working at Sunrise Records, and Sunrise Records was sort of like a really ridiculous music store, and I was working with somebody named Brad at the time. And Brad and I went on so many adventures, just doing crazy things in the store, which maybe you guys want to hear about that in another video, but the best part about working there was that we would hang out after work every single night until about 6 in the morning playing Magic the Gathering. And we had another friend whose name was Michael who would join us in this weird place we would play in. And this story is true, and I'm not making it up or elaborating it and making it more ridiculous. We used to go to a cafe, and it was on Burnenthorpe Road in Mississauga, and it was about 5 minutes down the road from the mall. We'd go in there, and the owner would kick us out every single night because we'd play Magic the Gathering until, 12 at night, and he'd be like, I gotta go home, I've got children, I've got this, I got that. So at some point, he just came over and gave us the keys to his shop and said, make sure you pay for whatever you eat, and if anybody wants something that comes in from outside, could you please serve them? He gave us his store to play Magic the Gathering. Because we were such nerds, he trusted us, and we were there every single day for years on end. And it was an amazing time in my life because I was learning about Magic and hanging out with my friends, and that's a story that kind of hurts to say now because we can't really go and play physical Magic the Gathering at the moment because of what's going on. So I should also point out, if you're curious, and this isn't sponsored or anything, but if you're curious about what I'm going to explain in this video, you can actually download Magic the Gathering Arena on your PC and Mac, and it's coming to Android and iOS devices very soon, and you can experience it that way instead of going out there and just buying cards and hoping to play with people, especially if you can't do that right now. So that's how I got into Magic the Gathering. Brad and Mike showed me the way, and I never looked back. Now there's a huge gap in time where I didn't really get into it, and just recently the new set, Kaldheim, came out, and I'm in love with it. I'm actually collecting it. I'm not playing with the actual cards, and that's a whole other topic to get into, but I love this new set. It's totally metal. And that's the shirt that showed up today. Absolutely love this new Viking themed set. Now, I'm going to try to break this down in a way that makes sense to you guys. So, you start the game with 60 cards in standard format. And in your deck, you'll have 25 land cards, also known as mana cards, that are shuffled in your deck. The rest of the deck is split up between all sorts of things, like enchantments and instant cards and creatures, and sometimes there's special land that you can put in there, but the point of the game is to really defeat your opponent. So I'll have 20 points and you'll have 20 points, and we basically spend our mana and land down on the table every turn, and eventually you can start spending that mana by tapping it during your turn to send creatures out to the battlefield. Once they're in the battlefield, on your next turn you can decide to attack with them. And that is where I'm going to stop in terms of explaining the game, because there's a lot to it. There's bigger creatures, there's creatures that are small that can be built on using, you know, combo situations with the cards, and that's really where the game gets to be over the top for a lot of players. But I want to point out something here. This year, I believe, actually last year, the 2021 decks came out. These are them right now. I'll put a link in the underbar if you're in North America and Canada. I believe ANSI Games will ship these, and it's the cheapest to get them from the store, about $14 Canadian, so it's much cheaper in the US, and don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if you can actually order them to the US, but these decks are pre-made decks. So you simply pick it up, open it, shuffle it, play with them. They come with instructions, and it is quite simple to learn the game. There's a ton of videos online that will explain to you how to play Magic the Gathering, so I highly suggest to go check out those videos if you're gonna go kind of get into this game. Now, there's another side of Magic the Gathering that I want to get into. And yes, the game itself is spectacular, and there's over, let me just go into history here, there's over 20,000 cards now, all the way from 1994 till current day. It's ridiculous. The set that just came out, I think, is about 400 cards, and I've collected quite a bit of that. I actually have it in a binder here, and it's kind of a little bit of a hobby to open these packs up, and there's different packs and different situations you can get into, and if this video does well, I'll explain more about the packs and why you'd want to go out and get them. But in my deck here, or I should say my binder, you'll notice that I can build decks from these new cards, and that is part of the game as well. You can go out there, buy old sets, and make decks out of that, and that's how you see if the deck really will work with the other cards, and you get into situations where you're building a deck that might really have a strong presence of simple enemies, but you can use another bonus sort of combo that's up your sleeve that you've been hiding in the deck to turn those enemies from simple enemies into extremely tough enemies that can take a player out in a matter of 5 or 6 turns. So there's a strategy there to it. Now, I should also point out there's 5 themes in Magic the Gathering, and what I mean by that is there's 5 different decks that you can choose from when you go out and purchase them in terms of their themes. So themes are green, red, white, black, and blue. Each of those will have a different theme to it, and you can kind of take a wild guess on what the different themes are. When you go with the black, you have a lot of death and destruction cards, vampires, and craziness of that nature, where you can actually take cards from the graveyard, because you can lose your creatures during gameplay, and take them out of the graveyard and put them back into play. So there's a lot of combos in that when you get really deep into it. Now, blue is something I don't really get into too much. Blue is about water. There's a lot of water cards in blue, and strange, you know, abilities for flying creatures. It really goes up against the white. To be honest, I don't really get into blue that much. And white, which some people consider to be the healing themed cards, I don't really get into them as well. A lot of angels and a lot of flying creatures in there as well. Now, this is what I get into. Red, dragons, fireballs, destruction. Oh, I love it. Green, it's about nature. There's like squirrel decks where people have bought these little squirrel cards that can multiply into like 20 cards on the battlefield, and instantly you're basically dead if you can't take them out. So I should say that you can have a deck that is just all black, or you could say I want a black-red deck. So it's about regeneration from the grave, and it's about fireballs and destruction and dragons. Yeah, there's dragons in the red deck, a ton of them. So you really have that option to you. You can play from a more aggressive side, or you can play from you know, sort of a death and destruction side, where you want to kill a lot of your own creatures and bring them from the grave. They get special powers when they come out. Or, like I said in the beginning, you buy these decks and they come pre-built. In the box, it will come with all of the cards and, what's more importantly in here, an instruction guide to explain to you how to play the game. So that is kind of important, but it comes with every single package you purchase. And once you understand how to play it, you will get addicted to this game. Let me just say, addiction is not even the right word to begin with. Now, there's one last thing I want to get into here that has to do with the Magic cards. There's different sets. They come out every 3 to 4 months. We just got the new one, which is Kaldheim, and it is very Viking-like. Tons of Viking and gods, and it is pretty advanced, so I would suggest to maybe stick to the 2021 core decks, and that's what these are here. But I should say this too. Magic isn't just about playing the game. It's also about collecting, because when you open up packages or you open up these decks, there's different levels of rarity. So of course you're going to be kind of addicted to it in a sense that you want to get a mythic rare card. And you can tell how rare they are based on the little symbol on the card itself. It will come in different colors. So if I open up the blue deck here, and I bought this for $14, it comes with a mythic rare. So I've got tons of land cards in here, of course, so I'm able to spend these to get the creatures and everything out on the field. And you'll notice that these are common cards because they're simply in black and white on the symbol. But it's interesting when you get into the uncommon, where that symbol goes from black and white to gray. And you'll notice right here, it is now gray. So you've got a silver logo where the logos are on the card. Then it goes to gold, which is considered to be a rare. And then last but not least, you've got red. Red is a mythic rare, and boy oh boy, some of these cards that are mythic rare can be worth a lot of money. And that is why I've started to collect the Kaldheim set. Some of the cards in there are ridiculous. $60 coming out of a pack, 50, 70, 80. But some of these packs for 15 to, I think, 35 cards can be from $7, $5. I bought a box for a lot of money. I'm not even gonna say what I spent on this collection, but in time, I believe it'll be worth it. It's like playing the stock market. So, in saying all of that, there's a lot that goes into Magic the Gathering. You can also get into cool things like buying these dice that will oh my God, will act as markers on top of your cards. So it's a lot of fun. You're playing with dice, you're playing with cards, you're playing with numbers, you're playing with a strategy in your head. You're trying to figure out what works well together, what combo works well. You're looking at all of your collection and thinking, I want to build a deck. I want to build a squirrel deck in the color green. You can do that. I want to play with a magician that just shoots fireballs at people from a distance. You can do that with the red deck. You can do all sorts of things based on the cards that you find in the wild. So I wanted to come here today, explain to you why I got into Magic, and that was because of my friendship with Brad and Mike. And I also want to dedicate this episode to Brad. Brad passed away, I think 5 or 6 years ago now, and that sucks. So that's another reason why I got into Magic the Gathering again. The Kaldheim set really spoke to me because I had all of my collection. You know, I have much more than this over there, but I didn't want to pull it all out and just be like, look at my cards, because who cares about that? I wanted to talk about why I got into it. And I also wanted to say, you know, Brad, thank you, man, for getting me into this. I mean, just sitting here, putting these decks together, it's been insane. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have any questions about anything, the cards or the type of dice you want to get, because You can buy starter boxes that come with dice, or you can buy, deck building kits that come with a certain amount of packages you can open and build your own deck and instructions on how to do that. So if you have a partner that is interested in card games, or you guys are just bored sitting around right now, I highly suggest to go out there, pick up some starter decks, get some little dice, set up some snacks and stuff. Just make sure you don't get any chip grease on the mythic rares. So look out for that red logo on the cards. If you open up a package, that card could be worth a lot of money. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I really appreciate your support on the show. If you like what I did, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB. And I should also point out, if you want to see another Magic the Gathering episode, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next episode.